Hey, welcome to Dungeon Class. I'm Gonzo. This is Mark. Today we're going to talk about 3 steps on converting modules or pre-made adventures to 5th edition. Stay with us. Mark, what's a module? What's a model?
It's not models. It's modules. Yeah.
What's a module?
What's a pre-made adventure? Is that like a pre-owned car?
Well, it's showing your age. Yeah. Hey everybody, welcome to Dungeon Class. If you haven't been here before and this is your first time, this is a channel where we talk about D&D. We are focused on 5th edition because that's what we're currently playing. But as you can tell, we've been around since the beginning. And we talk about everything in D&D, including today's topic. And that's trying to use some of these old modules or new pre-made adventures in your homebrew campaign. Because a lot of dungeon masters, Mark, like to homebrew their campaign, including you and including I. Yeah. But at the same time, there's some good stuff in these pre-made adventures that would be interesting and fun to use. But you've got to be able to move some of this stuff around. So
and that's a fair point because honestly, it's not an either-or thing. You don't have to be a guy who homebrews his stuff or a guy who uses only pre-made things. You can pull things out of out of these pre-made modules and homebrew them into your campaign. But honestly, if you just wanted to grab one of these modules and just like, okay, I'm going to use this, I'm going to convert it into 5th edition to use, how would a person do that?
Yeah, so we're going to have 3 steps. One of the steps you need to take is to subscribe to the channel. Speaking of steps, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We're growing pretty quick. We're excited for our future. And, hit the bell for notifications that lets you know when we're dropping videos, including live streams, which we're going to be doing a lot more of. And, comment below some of the ways that you take adventures that are pre-made and use them in your homebrew game. So, but yeah, let's talk about the first step. And I would think the first step, whether it's something from Tales of Yawning Portal or Lost Caverns of Socanth. Yeah, you say it. Yeah. Okay, you say it. Good luck. But whether it's something from that or Against the Giants, whatever, review the material. Go through and read it. Now, you don't have to read every word, but definitely get the gist of the adventure, get what they're trying to get you to accomplish, and see if that's why you're interested in using it in the first place. And when you review it, you're reviewing certain things. What are some of those things?
Yeah, so you're looking at the NPCs in there, looking over the monsters, any of the treasure that they have, just kind of skimming through and looking at that, and look at the map. The map is usually, a lot of times I think it's in the back of the modules, or sometimes it's the actual cover that folds out, and that is the map.
That's these old ones.
Yeah, these old ones. But you're just kind of looking at, and what you're looking for is you're just kind of, if it were me, I might even sticky note like where I found some of this stuff. Like, okay, that's an NPC I need to look at later. That's a monster. Right. There's the big bad evil guy. Here's where some treasure is. Because later, and we'll talk about this more, I'm going to come back and adjust those. So, but the first time through, you're just kind of skimming through and getting the lay of the land. Maybe skim the background.
The handouts.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the handouts. Yeah. There's handouts in this one. It's quite pretty cool. Yeah. And, different things that you can give to your players. You may want to scan those and then make copies of the ones you're going to use. But yeah.
So you're just reconnaissance right there. That first time through is step 1.
Recon. Okay.
Yeah. So step 2.
Step 2, and this one I would say is where you would want to use most of your creative energy. Yeah. This is the one where you're going to spend some time thinking about it, and this is tying in the hook and maybe the reason why the players are going to go through this into the backstory of your players.
So it's not like the old days. It's like, hey, here's an adventure. It's got some fat loot, and there's a dungeon. You got to go kill some monsters.
Yeah.
And we were kind of simple back in the days, and we're like, okay, and
that was fun.
We didn't have a real reason necessarily to be there, but we're there, and this is what's there, and let's go do it.
Sure. And many of the old school adventures too. Here's a old copy of Tomb of Horrors or a reprint of that, but
horrors, got to be careful with that.
Yeah, well, it's me. It is what it is. Yeah. But many of those were like made for tournaments where they were challenging players and see who could make it through, like meat grinders. And so those don't make for very good or interesting character arcs or hooks. But the way we play now, a lot of times, is we as players, want to be invested in a story. Yeah. And so tying in the story to this is the key. Tying in the story to even just one of your players' backgrounds would be super awesome. That would keep the whole group engaged. You can even tie it into the whole group's background. Right. Maybe they did something in the past that now reflects in the story that they're involved now. Maybe they save somebody from a group of trolls who had a fire giant boss that's now mad at you. You know, whatever it may be. So that I would say would be step 2 is really important, and that is coming up with a way to make this matter to your players. The better you're able to do that, the more engaged your players are, the more fun they're having, and the more reason they're going to go through this meat grinder of a thing you're going to put in front of them, and they not know. So.
Exactly, yeah. And some of those old dungeons can really wear on because they're just mindless killing stuff and getting treasure. Whereas if they had a reason to be there, something they're actually looking for, then it makes sense.
I mean, we have Tomb of Annihilation here. This is a great adventure, but it's really long.
Mm-hmm.
And in your campaign that you're running, you may want to just use a piece of this. You really like the dinosaur races that's in there or something, so you just want your players to experience that. So you take that piece out, you make sure it works for your players, and then you just throw it in and try to tie it into a background. Maybe one of your players is really good at animal handling, and maybe they had a little dinosaurs as a young druid or something. I don't know. So, all right, so that's step 2. What's step 3?
So step 3, now you're going to adjust it, and you're going to look at you're going back into the module or the pre-made adventure, and looking through there, and you're looking at those NPCs and the monsters. You like the NPCs. Like, does this NPC make sense? Honestly, you're going to see some stats and stuff in some of these older editions. You're like, what the heck is that? What does bloodied mean? You know, and so those things. If it doesn't make sense,
why isn't armor class 2 good on this?
Yeah, right. Armor class 2. That's not going to work out so good.
And armor class -1. That seems pretty bad in 5th edition.
Yeah, right.
That was good in 1st edition.
Exactly. So that stuff you're going to have to change things. If you're going to keep that NPC, and that's something you may consider. Do I need this NPC? Is this
because you may have your own you could use that they're already used to.
There you go. You can just bring that one in there. It makes more sense. So looking at and evaluating the monsters, and a lot of these monsters, it can be an easy swap. Like if that's a goblin, you'll just pull the 5th edition goblin and put that in there. All's good. But maybe it's a monster that it's changed, or maybe if they've tweaked it a little bit, and you might have to adjust that or whatever. So that's something you want to consider. And honestly, how many in that encounter, or is that too many, too little, those kind of things.
Well, and I was going to say, even if it is a 5th edition adventure that you're pulling this story from, and the modules do translate, the monsters do translate, you may want to change it up because maybe they've faced a lot of goblins and you don't want to throw more goblins at them. Maybe you want to throw something different like gnolls or something completely interesting. So you're right. Adjusting the monster to make it more personalized to your group is a good point.
And the treasure, back in the old days, the treasure was just random stuff. You know, you could have just a whole lot of coin, a lot of magic items. You know, in the old days, magic items were pretty prevalent because you could be decked out head to toe with magic items. So they're all over. So you may want to back that down a little bit because you don't want everyone having them. Another thing is think about maybe I want a treasure that makes sense for this group.
Personalizing it.
Yeah, like you mentioned the idea where we were talking about a rogue who's looking for that cloak of arachnida or whatever.
Yeah. See our video, by the way, where we talked about top 5 magic items for rogues.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, it's good stuff. So maybe they've been really wanting that thing, and they've gone to this big crazy dungeon, and maybe that shows up. So there's just some things to consider. Now, again, it tailorizes it a little bit to why they're there and they're rewarded for it. So consider the treasure. The other thing is look at the map. I mean, if you look at the map of Tomb of Horrors, it's ginormous. And think about, do I want this to be a 1-night thing, a 2-night thing, or it'll go on for 6 months?
Right.
Those are all considerations in the map. So
in the setting itself, I mean, you may be running in Wildemount, and you have a Sword Coast adventure that you want to throw in. So
right.
All those things.
Yeah. So you may need some adjustments. So honestly, it's all about adjusting it, making it make sense. So those are some things to consider.
So those are 3 great steps to be able to adjust a pre-made adventure or a module to 5th edition or to your homebrewed campaign, whatever edition you're playing. And with that, class dismissed.